We're ready to go. 10 laps or 20 minutes, whichever comes first. Felix Rosenqvist and Scott McLaughlin, they make up the front row, and we see green in the first non-points race in IndyCar since 2008, and there's a crash already. It's the Juncos Hollinger Chevrolet, and they hit Rinus VeeKay.
Looks like Will Power involved there as well. Contact so early on the brakes into turn 1 as there's a battle up front now. Rosenqvist defending against McLaughlin outside of turn 2. Wheel-to-wheel diff.
There may not be any points on the line, but these guys want the cash, and they are racing hard.
Did you see Colton Herta a little bit out of line there at the back of the field? And again, the brake zones have been a big topic of conversation. A little bit of contact there with Colton. Scott Dixon. It was Scott Dixon that just misjudged the brake a little bit, got into the back of Grosjean. Colton Herta maybe even into the back of Dixon a little. And then as Grosjean shot across, hit Rinus VeeKay.
Turn 15, turn 16, and the final turn 17 is waiting. And the stretch to the line is here. Felix Rosenqvist wins Heat 1 at the Thermal Club $1 Million Challenge. Scott McLaughlin goes through. There's a scrap on here. Unfortunately, it's not for that 6th and final position. That's going to go to Colton Herta. Palou gets a great start.
Great jump from him on the inside. Graham Rahal lining up third. You see the McLaren going on the inside of, I believe, Tom Blomqvist. A little bit of contact. Alex Rossi sideways. Trouble to get the power down out of 2, Diff.
Linus Lundqvist is that all blue car on the inside. Graham Rahal is on the outside of him in the white, blue, and black car. And this is a great start for Rahal.
You see the push to pass. Rossi's had to burn a lot to get to this point. He's burning some more now. Here we go.
Blomqvist he shows his shoulder going into the corner. They almost touch.
So he tried to put Rossi off his game there a little bit, and Rossi puts him off the track. And it is hello, Palou. Alex is going to easily win Heat 2.
Great job, man. Great job, everybody.
The race is on for that final position because Pato O'Ward hasn't given up on catching his teammate, but he's only got 2 corners left to do anything about it. Alexander Rossi is going to get that 6th and final place. Thermal Club $1 Million Challenge is away.
Palou with a massive jump there. That's what he needed to get to the point clean. Further back, it's McLaughlin working the high side of Rosenqvist.
He goes around Felix Rosenqvist. Graham Rahal out in the dirt. His teammate Lundgaard in that black and red machine looking for a line.
2 by 2, you see Lundgaard on the inside of Rahal there already at the back. Colton Herta taking his time, just tiptoeing around. We're seeing the strategy play out immediately, but up front, Scott McLaughlin's got the bit between his teeth side by side with Augustine Canapino through 4 and 5. Great action.
So Townsend, here's how it runs. You can go 10 seconds slower than the leaders and not go down a lap in these first 10 laps here at Thermal. So 100% the strategy, as Rob Edwards promised. Go slow for Colton Herta, hoping to go fast later.
The final half is underway, and everybody is racing for the big money.
McLaughlin very close through turn 17 there. Both drivers on the button. A lot more from Palou.
Canapino and Rossi, I think, side by side. Canapino got into the left rear of Alexander Rossi, and look who picked up a spot. Colton Herta.
Is he going to do the switchback?
Tries Joseph Newgarden. They're wheel to wheel. A couple of Chevrolet drivers. Team Penske, Aaron McLaren going at it. And Rossi moves over on Newgarden. They almost hit.
Better be careful for both of them. They go wide. They gave up at least 2 spots, I think. Lundqvist to the inside. And Herta. Here comes Herta. Look at him. He's making the move the inside of Lundqvist. He gets another one. Colton Herta in the top 5. 8 laps to go grab $500,000. He is on his way.
This is it. Herta on the inside of Armstrong, and he's got him.
Oh, he might have to drive off track. No, he's able to hold it in line, and that's the move from Colton Herta. P4.
26-year-old Spaniard Alex Palou wins the Thermal Club $1 Million Challenge.
Let's go! Yee!
Scott McLaughlin of Team Penske follows him home in second, and Felix Rosenqvist for Meyer Shank Racing in third. And Colton Herta's strategy nets him 4th place.
Up next, it's the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach, Sunday, April 21st. Watch it at 3 p.m. on USA Network.
Evening, everyone. Yes, I am back from my long hiatus here on the Push to Pass podcast, and this is episode number 73. If you are just tuning in for the first time, welcome. I am Derek Vance, and I'll bring my other two cohorts in here shortly. But a lot to go over this weekend is we are back on track, back for the 2025 NTT IndyCar Series. It seems like it's been forever since the season got started just a few weeks ago there in St. Pete. This evening, we are going to preview the upcoming race, like I talked about, the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. We'll go over that. And then also, too, we have some special guests joining us first. At the middle half of the hour, we will have a co-owner of the Thermal Club and then car owner participating in the Indianapolis 500. Don Cusack is going to join us also as well. Our betting expert, Mike, is going to join us to give us the insight on what to look for this weekend for our betting lines for IndyCar. And then also we'll get a weather report from the official Push to Pass podcast weatherman here at about an hour or so. But let me bring in the other two cohorts that make this show tick and that held down the fort while I was gone a couple weeks there. Josh and Michael, again, first and foremost, huge thank you to both of you for holding the fort down the last couple weeks while I was out. We've been away for a while. A lot has happened, but before we get into all that, fellas, how are everything for you guys this evening?
Everything's going great for me. Was a little late getting on, and having fun playing with my kid. But other than that, we're ready to go racing. By the time we get to Sunday, it'll be about 21 days since we saw last racing, and we don't want that momentum that we gained from St. Pete to wear off. So I can't wait to get back to watching some racing.
Yeah, things going good over here in my neck of the woods. I'm a little under the weather, so I apologize if I sound a little congested. I feel a little, I got a head cold going on. But the reason I was laughing, Josh, I like your little caption there that you have under your name. It works out pretty good.
It doesn't have anything to do with IndyCar, but if you've been listening to anything racing lately, especially on F1, my seat is wet.
Wow, definitely a catchy catchphrase there to say the least. But fellas, like I said, it is race week. Finally, it seems like it's been forever since we've been able to talk racing, specifically the NTT IndyCar Series, and what we have on tap this weekend out at the Thermal Club there in Thermal, California, is the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. For people that are unfamiliar with this was just established. Well, the Grand Prix, rather, was just established this year as we played right there in the show opener. That was last year's $1 million challenge out there. But again, for people that are unfamiliar with what this layout looks like, we'll throw this up on screen for everyone. That is the track layout there at the Thermal Club. Like I said, we're going to have a co-owner of that track, Don Cusack, coming on here in just about 20 minutes or so to talk a little bit more about the Thermal Club and then his excitement there being a car owner participating in the Indianapolis 500. But before we get to that, again, talking about the Thermal Club, the Twin Palms layout at the Thermal Club is a 3.067 mile raceway, which includes most of that South Palm circuit you see there and adds a slightly demanding trajectory on top to get through the total 17 turns. The layout also consists of sweepers, tight corners, long straightaways, and elevation changes, providing a proper driving and engineering challenge to the teams for sure. Michael, I know you like to dive a little bit into these tracks from last year, obviously being that was the first year that IndyCar has been there. What's your thoughts on this 3 mile, 17 turn track there in California?
Yeah, well, I think Marshall Pruitt put out a piece earlier that was really good, talking about this track being a cheese grater. It very much is. It looked like last year we watched the intro video. You heard Colton Herta saving tires. I think that's going to be the name of the game this weekend, saving tires. And also, I'd like to know from Don if they've done any repaving or anything like that, because coming towards the start finish line, there's that it's almost like a bump. You've seen a few cars in the video go over that. So I don't know if they've addressed that or not, or if that's still there. But yeah, those were the two things that really caught my eye going back and watching this race. Don't really have a whole race in the books, so it'll be interesting to see how much tire degradation is. Can they make it on the tires they have? So practice will be very, very important this weekend.
Josh, I know you watched this race 1 year ago. Anything that you'd like to add looking at the track layout for this weekend?
Thermal's an interesting track just because there's not a lot of data with Indy cars. I mean, last year being the first time, and they didn't have the full field out there each time. They broke it up into different races, multi races, and then got down to a final race. So it'll be interesting to see when you put up to 30 some cars on this track, how well they handle, and also weather may be a little bit of a factor. We'll check out with our weatherman later on in the show, but it's in California, but we still have to remember that it's March, and we could have any type of weather, even though it's out in California. It could be 80 degrees one day, and then on race day it could be 60, and that's a 20-degree drop. So we'll see how this track handles. I'm excited to talk to Don about this, due to the fact this is basically his home track, and I know him and the other owners of the track, or members of the track, have probably been sprucing up since last year, getting everything spick and span, so that they can have a great showing this weekend.
Yeah, it looks like, and again, Josh, as you mentioned, we will have the official weatherman for the Push to Pass podcast on later in the show, but it looks like his forecast right now, could be picture perfect, but I'll let him talk about that when he comes on later on. Just to add, this is going to be a 65-lap race, and it's just under 200 miles at 199.36 miles. That is what will be driven on Sunday. Just to add a little bit of flair to the show a little bit, I'm adding a section of the show, or maybe a portion of the show, a hot lap. Let's take a look at, from the helmet cam of one Kyle Kirkwood, what a hot lap looks like going around the Thermal Club track. there from the helmet cam of one Kyle Kirkwood. I know I caught, and maybe this was just like squirrel, but I did see the scenery in the background there, the mountains, that really caught my eye. But anything else on the track there, Josh or Michael, in the turns that you guys thought was interesting watching that helmet cam footage there from Kyle Kirkwood?
It's a fast track, looks like, for me, to me, especially that straightaway towards the end. You're getting up. I don't know how fast he was getting up to, but to be able to go, get your momentum going that fast, and then be able to downshift so quickly and get into those turns is that takes some talent and some skill to not hit anything, or to be able to break right at the right point. There we may have some problems going into that. Too many cars getting going too fast, and maybe breaking a hair too quickly, and the cars behind them hitting them or doing something. So that last half of that straightaway is going to be tough, I think.
Yeah, the one thing I thought of watching that, talking about the straightaway, is when to utilize your push to pass, and also how to deploy your hybrid system and when to be recharging. If you end up being, late to the hybrid system, it could be an issue. You might get passed. So that'll be something to keep an eye on. I feel like they haven't really talked a lot about that, the hybrid system at the start this year. So be interesting to see if they talk any more about that.
Definitely some key points to pay attention to this weekend. Obviously, when the drivers do their track walk Thursday, I'm sure they will make themselves familiar and aware of those points as well. Looking at the schedule for this weekend, I know it might be tough for some to see, but we're going to get things kicked off Friday at 6:30. Turn over to FS1 for first practice. And then you get a little bit of time there Saturday afternoon, maybe get some yard work done depending on how the weather is in your neck of the woods, and then flip back over to FS1 around 1 o'clock for practice session number 2. And then about, 2.5, 3 hours later, go back to FS1 at 5 o'clock for the qualifying session for the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. And then flipping over to Sunday, get your early church services in because around 11 o'clock again on FS1, that is when the warm-up will take place. And then you have a little bit of a break. And then at 3 o'clock, flip over to your local Fox station for the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. So everything this weekend, FS1, Fox, if you're on the XM radio, or if you're on, you have a iOS or Android, go check out the either Sirius XM IndyCar Radio Nation there, or get the IndyCar app, and you're able to listen to the race in its entirety as well. So a good way to catch this weekend's race. A lot of eyeballs, I know, coming out of St. Pete. I know Josh and Michael and I had a huge conversation about that, and I seen the articles that were coming out. Hopefully that momentum that the NTT IndyCar Series gained from its premiere on Fox is able to keep up there. I know the long break, we all have different opinions about it, but hopefully the long break does not do anything to break that cycle of momentum that the IndyCar Series had from its debut there on Fox. Either one of you, I know we still got a little bit more to talk about when it comes to the Thermal Club. We got the weather and then some other things here. And obviously, Don Cusack is going to join us in about 10 minutes. But any other talking points or storylines from either one of you heading into race weekend?
One thing that jumped out to me is the time of the start of this race. Because if it's starting at noon here on the East Coast, so is it noon their time or noon our time?
It's noon their time, 3 our.
Okay. Okay, never mind. I was confused. I was like, that's going to be an early race because that'd be 3 hours behind. They'd be racing at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not sure how many of these guys have actually ever ran a race that early in the morning. That just takes my talking point right away with it being that being in California time, not Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, the time actually is something I wanted to talk about. You have practice 1 is later in the evening, practice 2 is in the mid afternoon, and then qualifying's in mid to late afternoon. So none of those really line up. You're going to have to rubber in the track, then practice 2. So the weather and the changing conditions will definitely be something to watch for all weekend, really. So getting the track rubbered in practice 1. So speeds and timing is going to be all over the charts. I think that's going to be one crucial thing to watch. Also, another thing we'll have to watch is as far as viewership. IndyCar has been gone for almost 3 weeks, and they're going to be head to head with NASCAR. So NASCAR is on FS1, and IndyCar is on Big Fox. So IndyCar will have a slight advantage there, but yeah. It's going to be hard to compete at that same time slot, I believe.
Yeah, I think all great, valid points. And I'm going to be curious to watch, like Michael pointed out about these practice times. How much of the practice time is going to be in race conditions, because especially practice 1 being late in the evening and the race being at high noon, as they used to say at the OK Corral. So yeah, definitely going to be interested to see how they implement this practice data that they're going to get into race conditions for sure. Before we get into anything else, let's switch gears here for a minute. Let's thank the sponsors, obviously, that make it possible here for all of us on the Push to Pass podcast to do what we do week in and week out during the NTT IndyCar Series season. First and foremost, huge thank you to Always Ready 1776 for all your patriotic apparel needs and much more. Go check out the fine folks and fine line of apparel over at Always Ready 1776. You can find them on the web at alwaysready1776.com. And while you are perusing, yes, I did use the word perusing, if you find something that you do want to purchase, use that promo code that you see right there on your screen, Push to Pass, for 10% off of your order. Huge thank you to the folks over at Always Ready 1776. Also, too, huge thank you to Gettum Associates for all your design and remodeling needs. Remember, it's Gettum Associates, and you can find them on the web as well at Gettum.com. And again, if you do choose to use their services, make sure you mention that promo code Push to Pass right there on the screen to get $250 off any design service. So huge thank you both to Always Ready 1776 and Gettum Associates for being fine sponsors of the Push to Pass podcast. Getting back into the racing, like I said, you're going to have owner or co-owner rather of the Thermal Club, and then car owner along with Dreyer and Reinbolt Racing for the Indianapolis 500. I know he's going to love to talk about that. And then the race this weekend, Don Cusack is going to be joining us in about 5 minutes or less. Anything on the mind, Josh or Michael, that we have not touched on yet here, looking at the Thermal Club this weekend?
I think Michael before the show started was talking about a 3-day general admission pass was, what'd you say, upwards than like $250?
No, the total is $475.
$475. So, what do you guys? Do you guys think that? I mean, I know that gets you 3 days. That breaks down to a little over $100 and some odd dollars. Do you think that that is a expensive price, or do you guys think that's like a Do you think it's a reasonable price? What do you guys think?
I think you left everyone speechless, but I just want to make sure that that price there does get you into every event from practice 1, practice 2, qualifying, warm up, and race. Is that my understanding there?
Yes, it's a 3-day general admission ticket. So, and that does include parking
for 3 days. Obviously, that doesn't include hotel and lounging and things like that. But just to get in, I think that's reasonably priced. I mean, if you were to look at and break down, if you were to go to every session, everything out the track for the 500, I think you're going to be either around that ballpark figure or past it. So I think that's a pretty decently well priced for a 3-day event.
Derek, the one thing you're forgetting with that is if you buy a bronze badge for the Indy 500, that gets you into everything except the race day. I mean, you have to pay for parking, but if you park in the free lot and you take a hike, that is. But yeah, I believe that's only $250 if I remember correctly. So, I mean, I know we're comparing apples into oranges with that. Different states, everything's a little bit more pricier in California. And we're also at a private club that probably pays a big, important role in that. It might be something we could ask Don on where the pricing model come from. But yeah, I'm sure it's a price point that some IndyCar fans are not super thrilled about. I do know, I believe on their website, it says over 50% of the tickets are sold. I don't know how many tickets are available. So, yeah, all kind of good questions we could ask.
Josh, I know you like to price sporting events and have a great knowledge of breaking that type of information down. What are your thoughts on this ticket price for this the 3-day event?
This is an odd weekend. For me, I'm gonna be watching, of course, the race, but also you've got basketball on in the background. That's so you've got the tournament going on. So I mean, I know sometimes we have diehard IndyCar fans that don't care about any other sport, but a lot of fans are 2, 3, 4, 5 sport athletes, and I don't know. The price of tickets is just skyrocketing over the years, and I don't know if that's got to do with the secondary market. I mean, whether it be sporting events, whether it be, God forbid, you try to get Taylor Swift tickets. The secondary, if you don't get them right off the bat, you're going to be paying an arm and a leg in secondary, but according to Michael, it's about over 50%. So there's still tickets left. To me, almost $500 is a little steep for all 3 days, even though it gets you into a lot of the event. It gets you into all the events. I don't know if they're having any kind of entertainment, such as like Iowa has. I know they bring in some of the top country artists. I don't know, and on top of that, you have to pay for your food. I don't know when Don comes on, you'll have to ask what does the seating arrangements look like. I mean, general admission, does that just mean, hey, come in, and if you could, we have like some stands scattered all over the place, or it's interesting, but to me that's a lot of money for a race that doesn't quite have the prestige. If you said, hey, for $500 you could go to Daytona and go to all their events, I would see that as more of a bargain than going all the way out to California, where it's a lot. Well, like we said, it was a lot pricier. So it's a little. it's a little out of my range. I wouldn't pay for it, but like I said, it just seems like the price of entertainment tickets are going up more and more, with the more and more newer venues that we have that are being built. It's no longer, hey, $20 gets you into a concert. It's now Jelly Roll to sit in the lawn here at Klipsch in Noblesville. If you don't get them on the day of release, even day of release, they're $160 in the lawn. You're paying triple that. So at some particular point, I think they're just starting to price the general fan out. This race may not be for the general fan. This race may be more of a in the model of an F1 race. F1 is if you go to the Vegas race, that's going to cost you pretty pennies. So I wouldn't pay it, but there are people that have the money, that have the disposable income.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a hot button topic. Not only obviously the price of admission to races and the price of admission to sporting events, but outside of sporting events, even going to amusement parks and things like that, they're high priced as well. So hopefully that the Thermal Club is able to make some money on their investment, and they're able to keep this race on the circuit, on the schedule, because I think obviously always having IndyCar and not having to skip a race or find another venue because it's just not financially feasible to keep the race at one track or the other. Obviously doesn't do anybody any good, and doesn't do the sport of IndyCar justice, because obviously we're in the business of trying to grow this sport and get as many eyes on it as possible. I thought Fox did a tremendous job, and I think both of you agreed that Fox did a tremendous job with the way they not only promoted IndyCar, but the way their opening series or opening race a couple weekends ago there in St. Petersburg, and the coverage that they had. So hopefully, this doesn't price anybody out, and people are able to, go forward and enjoy what is the NTT IndyCar series. And speaking of people that we enjoy, I do see that our guest has joined us here. Obviously honored to be able to call this individual my friend and friend of the show. Co-owner of the Thermal Club, where the IndyCar series is going to be at this weekend, and then co-owner with Giant Racing. 2 cars going to be in the EOS 500 this coming May. Don Cusack is able to take some time out of his day to join us. Don, first and foremost, huge thank you for coming on here. I know you've been a busy man as of late. You got a huge event this weekend that I know you have to be excited for, the second year in a row that the IndyCar circuit has stopped at the Thermal Club. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, it's great. It's always great to welcome IndyCar to the Thermal Club. It's our home track, so we don't have to travel to be at the race, which is also a benefit. But yeah, they're all starting to roll in and get everything set up, and I'm in my building, kind of getting everything ready to go. And yeah, we're excited. Can't wait.
All of us here, definitely have a lot of questions here in the short amount of time that we have. So hopefully we're able to get to them. But yes, talk about how big it is, not only for you, but for all the rest of the owners of the Thermal Club to be able to have the NTT Car Series season or back for season number 2. Last year, obviously, was an exhibition and a money race, so to say. But now this year, the roles have kind of reversed and changed a little bit, and now you're actually on the schedule as a sanctioned race. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I should clarify, I'm not actually an owner of the Thermal Club. I'm an owner at the Thermal Club. Tim and Tawana Rogers are the sole owners of the entire facility. And obviously, they have us as members, and we help support everything that goes on, and, help wherever we can. But I'm not a actual owner of the Thermal Club. just my little part of this heaven. But yeah, I just was sitting with Tim Rogers and Mike Long from Aero McLaren about an hour or so ago, talking about what this means. And for us, it's just great. I mean, the IndyCar Nation is a wonderful group of people, and it's always an honor to have them here. We're excited about the whole thing. We think the racing will be good, and we're ready for it.
Josh, Michael, any questions? I know we had plenty for Don, but any one of you two have questions?
Thanks for coming on again, Don. Always love talking to you. I understand. Thank you for clarifying you're not an owner, but you're a member of the Thermal Club. But I would imagine, as being a member of the Thermal Club, you probably had some input on like changes or modifications from last year. Is there anything that has been changed on the grounds of the Thermal Club to make the racing experience a little bit better for the fans that are attending? Do you know of anything like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Tim Rogers, the owner, is great. He asks our opinion. We have meetings with him, pretty much all the time to talk about what could make it better. As far as the track goes, they enlarged the pit area over last year, so now there's more room along the hot pit, and he's added several amenities, new grandstands, new viewing areas, a lot of new buildings, new shade structures. So I think the fans are going to love it. Food trucks like last year, which was a big hit, and also the option to eat in the Tower Restaurant, which is kind of our clubhouse. So it's a limited event. It's an expensive ticket, but it's access like you can't get anywhere else. And as you guys know, we run an IndyCar with DRR, and we get pretty great access for that. But this is something on a whole different level.
Yeah, I had one more question, and we were talking about before you came on about the price of it being the general admission. It's like in the 400 range, and we were wondering different amenities that would have been there. Is it just show up and find a seat, or are there new grandstands? And like you said, they just put some on. My last question is this are we looking at Thermal Club becoming a permanent race on the IndyCar season? I mean, last year it was, like we said, it was for the money. Now we're adding points into it, so it's putting a little bit more prestige on the race. Are there talks of keeping the Thermal Club on permanently?
So, I think that the Thermal Club would like to have IndyCar back. I do think it's a question mark as to whether this will continue or not, and I think that this year's race is a point race. Will have a lot to do with that. If it goes well and everybody loves it, then hopefully we sign a longer extension and we get on it permanently. It makes sense in a lot of ways because the next stop after this obviously is Long Beach, so they come out here and we're maybe 2 hours away from Long Beach in 2 weeks. IndyCar added Dallas on what would be this weekend for next year. So we don't really know. There's been a lot of changes at IndyCar, executives moving around and things like that. So I think what happens this year will bear on what happens in the coming years. But, I think everyone here feels like we've really got it together now. It's been actually 3 years because we had spring training here in 2022. 2023. We'd love to see him come back. The members like it. I think the ownership here likes it. I think IndyCar likes it too. But we'll see.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. This is my first interaction with you. Being new to the Push to Pass podcast. So my big question, kind of piggybacking off of there, is this a race that IndyCar can justify? We kind of talked about it earlier this week. That would put 3 races in the state of California. Obviously, California is a big state. Is that something that's justifiable with having 3 races?
I mean, great question. I think IndyCar would have to probably give you the ultimate comment on that. As I said earlier, I think from a logistical perspective, going thermal to Long Beach probably does make sense. The haulers don't have to go all the way back home. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of races in California, and there is a lot of other places, I think, in this country and probably maybe even internationally that a race would make sense to hold too. This is a small venue. This is a very limited in-person crowd, maximum of 5,000 people. Is that the right model for IndyCar? I don't know. It will be interesting to see what the television numbers do. They were great in St. Pete. We're hoping they're great for this race as well. But, I think that's a decision that IndyCar ultimately has to make. Does it make sense for them or not?
And then my last question, you talked about expanding pit road a little bit. Was there any on-track changes at all, paving or anything?
We did a couple of projects. We improved a couple of corners where there were some issues in previous years. And it should serve to make it a little bit faster and maybe also to create a couple more passing opportunities. I know the members love it because, we're an FIA track and that's kind of fun to race on. And I know that we've run on the track where the changes were made, and we picked up a couple of seconds in our Porsche race cars. So I think it's going to make the racing a little more interesting. I think the biggest concern is tire deg. It's a different surface than they're used to running on, and I think IndyCar actually changed the tire configuration and allotment, so to accommodate for that. So we'll see, but I think the racetrack is great. I think it's going to be a lot of action, and like I tell everybody that says there's no place to pass. I've been passed 1,000 times on this track. There's lots of places to pass.
Don, I'm glad you brought up tires because I know Josh, and that's Josh's favorite topic to talk about. So I'm really glad that you brought that up. But I know how excited you are about this weekend. But I have a feeling that you are a little bit more excited when the calendar turns from April to May and you're able to get out here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and your participation in the Indianapolis 500, not only one, but two cars again this year. I know you got out a little bit ahead of schedule, which is obviously good for you guys along with Dry and Reinbold Racing. And I know we talked about that earlier in the year, but again, talk a little bit about how successful it's been so far and being able to get ahead of the curve a little bit when it comes to the month of May.
Sure. Well, first of all, we love being involved with Dennis and his crew. Dennis Reinbold, Brett DeBoard, they're great people to work with. They've welcomed us as teammates and team members. So, we're super appreciative. Yeah, to have the drivers set, to have the sponsors set, to have the finances set and be able to do extra things, it's great. Use the shaker rig, use the wind tunnel, really get the cars prepared. And I mean, you guys saw it last year. Although look, Dennis goes out there to win the race, and he always believes he can. Qualifying fast 12 with Ryan was for us huge. Even finishing 10th with Connor was a good result, but Dennis wasn't happy with it. He wants to win the race. So we're doing more tweaks, more tunes, more things, and we feel great about this year. We love Jack, we love Ryan. The cars are going to be ready, the crew's going to be ready, and to your point, there's no place I'd rather be in May than at IMS.
And there's no other place, Don, that I would love to have you more than IMS. But again, huge weekend for you. Excited for you. Can't wait to see the results that you and everyone else out there in the Thermal Club are able to get when the IndyCar comes through this weekend. And definitely, like I said, always look forward to seeing you out there in the garage there and during the month of May, and definitely going to do it again this year as well. Don, anything else you want to add here? I know you got some other things to attend to, but anything else you want to add here before we let you go?
just want to thank you guys for always supporting us and giving us the airtime. It really helps, give us some credibility out there. And you guys have been great. So, yeah, definitely come by in May. We'll show you around again, whatever we can do. We appreciate your support, and we're here to also support you. So thanks for the opportunity, guys.
Thanks, Don.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk soon.
Again, huge thank you, Don, for stopping by, taking a little bit of your time to join us. Definitely look forward to what's going to take place this weekend, and obviously we'll get out there during the month of May to see you. And obviously we got a lot of catching up to do for sure. So, Don, huge thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Let's hope for a great race. We'll see you all in May.
Absolutely. That was Don Cusick of Don Cusick Motorsports. Definitely someone you can root for, obviously, not only with what's taking place at the Thermal Club this weekend, but the two entries him and Ryan Reinbold Racing have collaborated together with, obviously, a lot of success last year coming together late. So I'm definitely interested when that calendar turns over to May to see all the hard work, the extra preparation, like Don talked about there, that they've been able to accomplish now with getting everything in place and set. And getting both drivers, Jack Harvey and Ryan Hunter-Reay from last year, set and ready to go. I think you could potentially see, I think, big things from Dreyer Reinbold Cusack Motorsports in May. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'm always excited to hear Don. He loves racing, and he knows racing, and I hope for his sake, and not for his sake. I hope for him, he can come away. I mean, that would be awesome to see him and the Dreyer Reinbold and Dennis Reinbold in that victory lane with one of their cars that they have in May. I mean, I could only imagine just seeing him up on that podium, looking at that trophy, and and watching his driver get doused in milk with that wreath around his neck. He would be fantastic in the media center afterwards.
Yeah, I always think back to Ryan Hunter-Reay and how much he's a fan favorite, and I mean, he's a likable driver, and Jack Harvey is as well. So it is definitely going to be interesting. Also to see, second year with Ryan Hunter-Reay, it does that momentum continue to, build, like Don said, qualified in a fast 12, finished 10th. So, I mean, great results for one car, or a one race operation with two cars. So be interesting to see. I'm very excited for the month of May. I wish it was here already.
Well, I think all three of us do. Obviously, we did turn in our application today, so just waiting for that. I think they're due the middle of April. I think, if memory serves me correct. So hopefully we'll be able to get that taken care of, and then definitely look forward right after the Grand Prix of Alabama, when that calendar turns over and we have to get through the Indy GP, and then it's showtime. Then it's the big show. So definitely can't wait for that, as Michael said. Waiting for Mike to step on. I did not get confirmation if he would be on yet or not, so hopefully he'll be able to. If not, I think we'll go to a little bit of the news and notes that we have compiled together. A couple stories that have hit the wire this week. Kind of get your guys' opinion on here before Mike joins us. The first one here, glad to see this, but Takuma Sato and Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing have announced a entry into the Indianapolis 500. So if Takuma Sato, who confirmed that he'll be chasing his third Indianapolis 500 this May. If Sato is to win his third Indianapolis 500, like I said, it will be with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. A couple Tuesdays ago, it was announced via their website that the Japanese driver will pilot the number 75 Amada Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Honda entry as part of their Indianapolis 500 program this coming May. Now, for people that haven't paid much attention, Sato has won the Indianapolis 500 twice, back in 2017 with Andretti Global, and then recently, if you want to say that, in 2020 with the same Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing team. I'm very excited to return for the 109th Indianapolis 500 with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing, Sato said. Once again, a heartfelt thank you to Bobby, Mike, David, and the entire organization for this incredible opportunity. I'm also deeply grateful for the continued support from Amada as the primary sponsor alongside Panasonic Automotive Systems, Deloitte to Matsui, NCA, Honda, HRC, and all of our local or loyal sponsors. I can't wait to get to work. And then some comments from co-owner of Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing, Mike Lanigan, who welcomed the addition of Sato's skills and experience to the team. Takuma has always been quick at the speedway, and his 2 wins confirm his abilities at the greatest spectacle in racing, he said. I personally look forward with great optimism to be the team that gives Takuma the opportunity to win the trifecta, and am thankful to have Amada as a primary sponsor again. Fellas, kind of curious to get your thoughts there as Takuma Sato coming back with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing to chase his 3rd Indianapolis 500 victory.
Great to see Sato coming out. He's chasing that third victory, and if he wins that 3rd victory, I mean, it would put him up there in the upper echelon of drivers to ever compete at Indy. And not to mention with him being Japanese, having the Japanese media, I would imagine they'll be all over IMS, sending people and broadcasting the race and getting as many eyes throughout the world. We talk about here in the United States, but getting eyes throughout the world is always a good thing. And with more international drivers, coming from Japan and different places, it's always gets more eyeballs on the on the sport. So it's a good thing for it. Can't wait to see. And he's always a good soundbite, I hear.
Yeah, I have fond memories with Takuma Sato. He about run me down with his scooter one year. It was pretty funny incident we had. And then he has the best autograph ever. I got his autograph as a standard autograph one year. And then I asked him, I said, hey, could you autograph this in Japanese? And he did. And it is the coolest thing. So if you have an opportunity to do that, ask him if he'll autograph your memorabilia in his Japanese autograph. It's really fascinating to see the difference in the two. But as far as him coming to the Indy 500, I know that was the original
So, Michael,
question.
I think what we need to do, and I don't know if each of you caught this story or not, but at St. Petersburg, there was a guy that got a Pato Award autograph tattoo on his chest. So do you think, Michael, we can talk Josh into getting a Takuma Sato Japanese signature tattoo somewhere on his body?
That would be totally up to Josh. I wouldn't peer pressure anyone into doing anything like that. So, I did see that article, and that is, that's dedication. That's all I'll say.
I will make you a deal. You guys pay for it, and I will get the tattoo. I enjoy getting tattoos, and I just can't get a lot of them because they are so expensive.
Well, somebody I know real close to me always says challenge accepted. And you know what, Josh? Challenge accepted. You shouldn't have said that. But
I mean, we would have to go right from the
sure.
We'd have to go right from
another article that you can go find actually over at yournews.com or the Push the Pass website, WordPress. Also, too, Don touched on this a little bit ago, but they did announce that the date of the Grand Prix of Arlington, which is going to be coming to the IndyCar schedule of March of 2026. Like we said, you can add another race to the 2026 NTT IndyCar Series season. Just a few days ago, it was announced that the inaugural Arlington Grand Prix will take place March 13th through the 15th, 2026. If you've not heard about this yet, the street race will take place around a 2.73 mile, 14 turn track featuring 3 different iconic sporting venues recognized by fans around the world. First, Josh's favorite NFL team, the home of the Dallas Cowboys, AT&T Stadium. Number 2, Global Life Field, which is the current home of the Major League Baseball Texas Rangers. And number 3, which I didn't know this, is Choctaw Stadium, which is the former home of the Major League Baseball club, the Texas Rangers. Quote, the IndyCar Grand Prix of Arlington is definitely circled on the calendar, said Errol McLaren's Pato Award. Texans love racing and they love big events. So this is going to be mega. Hopefully it will set the new standard for a circuit race in North America going forward. So fellas, quick, get your thoughts here on the Arlington Grand Prix, and then it's coming in March of 2026.
I think it's a great thing. If you have St. Pete at the beginning, you'll have St. Pete, then you'll have Arlington. If they stick with Thermal Club, you'll have a plethora of races, and we won't have if they could schedule it right, they won't have a 21-day layoff to where we're going 21 days between live action racing, which takes some of the, like we've said, takes some of the momentum away. So it's a great thing. I know this is one thing that Jerry Jones, not my favorite owner, can tout about, and I'm sure he'll have the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders out there doing something, standing at the start finish line or doing something. Anytime he can chill his team, he'll do it right off the bat.
Yeah, very interesting concept. I feel like we are turning into a little bit of the Formula One copycat series. I don't mind it being around the stadium and the hype. It'll be big. We have to get some sort of big name concert series or something there as well. Hopefully we have some support series as well to keep fans that want to be there for racing involved. But then I think that's something that IMS does so well with the snake pit that gets overlooked a lot, is that you have that entertainment value as well. So if you want to come watch a little bit of the race, listen to some music, watch a little bit of race, you have that. So those entertainment things, and I honestly, being a fan of motorsports in general, I feel like that is honestly one of the things that Formula One does great. They can average, and they have big facilities, and they're global company, but they have an average attendance of like 100,000 a weekend, and that would be crazy for IndyCar to get that more than just the Indy 500. So if you can make it no hate to IMS, but if you can make it a spectacle, or if you can make it an entertainment value as a whole, you can get more people to come versus just, hey, there's a race going on, and you get your racing community there. It is a great market. The Dallas Fort Worth area, they lost the race there at the Oval. And Texas is such a great market for Formula One, for NASCAR, and IndyCar. I mean, we had great viewing there as far as at track attendance and viewership on TV. So that's a great market. These big areas are where IndyCar needs to go, the heavily populated, to get out there more. And I feel like Arlington, and yes, as most people are not Cowboy fans, but Jerry Jones will do a good job at promoting it as well.
I think all solid points, and kind of curious to see how well attended this race will be next year. Obviously, like Michael talked about with Fort Worth losing a race, the Texas Motor Speedway, and Arlington picking this up. Definitely going to be interested to see how well it is perceived, not only in Texas, but how big a following Pato Award, who spoke on it in the piece there. How big a following he has coming up from Mexico, and then obviously we know how close Mexico and Texas are. So kind of curious to see the contingency of Hispanics from outside the country travel to Texas to see this race as well. One last article. I know I didn't inform you guys about, and I don't know if a lot of people seen this or not, but Toby Salary, who drove for Michael's favorite team season, his name has surfaced again. He is going to serve as a development driver. British racing driver Toby Salary, who succeeded in 2024 to a certain degree, has now carried that success over to the 2025 season. This past Thursday, Salary and Ray Hall Letterman Landing and Racing announced via their website that Salary has signed a contract with the Ray Hall Letterman Landing and IndyCar Series team to the role of reserve and development driver for selected events in the 2025 season. Just like I touched on, Salary 28 made 3 different series starts in 2024 for Michael's favorite race team there, Darrell Coyne Racing. He gained a combined 19 positions in those 3 races before the checker flag flew at both Mid-Ohio, where me and Michael attended, Toronto and Portland, respect. He will serve as a R&D development driver on Honda's Driver in the Loop simulator, assist the team's engineering department and trailing and provide regarding hybrid deployment strategies on the simulator, and will provide feedback for the DIL regarding the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan vehicle models. Salary on this opportunity. The opportunity to join Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing as a reserve and test driver allows me to expand and build on my IndyCar debut last year while contributing directly to the team's continued growth and success. I've been in talks with RLL for a couple years now. Getting to work closely with a team that's been the cornerstone of IndyCar racing over 3 decades is a huge privilege. I'm committed to pushing myself, learning from some of the best in the sport, and becoming a driver who can truly make a difference. I'd like to thank the whole team at RLL for working hard to make this happen, and both Bobby and Mike for believing in me. And then some statement here from Bobby Rahal, co-owner of the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing Group. We're excited to have Toby join RLL, just in IndyCar, but also with his recent endurance racing success. Winning a prestigious race like the Dubai 24 Hours highlights his adaptability and mental toughness, qualities we deeply value at RLL. Toby's experience will undoubtedly strengthen our team as we aim for competitive excellence this season. So before we expand on Toby Salary's role there at Ray Hall, official weatherman of the Push to Pass podcast, has joined us. So let me stick him up here, sir. Good evening. Again, thank you as always for taking a little bit of time out of your busy schedule to join us. And it looks like the weather is not going to play a factor this weekend.
No, absolutely not. So thanks for having me back on again, guys. And as we're on to race 2, it's another favorable weather forecast. So just looking at afternoon temps sitting in the mid to upper 80s, with Sunday being the warmest. And I hate to throw out the old cliche, it's a dry heat, but in this case, it actually really is. So not really that terrible. There's just not a lot of moisture in the air to impact those temperatures and make it feel that uncomfortable, actually. So winds, also not a factor. They're pretty weak this weekend. They usually tend to switch directions out there midday around the Salton Sea area this time of year, but because they're so weak, something that we're not going to have any issues with is blowing dust or sand on the track. So I know when I have a forecast like this, I would, in air quotes, an easy forecast, right? I probably tend to over drill down into some of the more details of it and find any atmospheric factors that might have any kind of impact. And about the only variable I could come up with to keep an eye on is the cloud cover. I've seen a lot of forecasts out there, calling straight out sunny the entire time, but there might be a little bit more upper level cloud cover, particularly on Saturday. And that's what I tried to hint at there in the graphic. And that type of cloud cover is really, doesn't play a huge role in the air temperature, but as you guys know, track temperature is a lot more sensitive to those types of changes, right? So if it's a direct sunlight versus more of a diffuse sunlight, on the track, we could see some adjustment there. Maybe track temps a little bit lower in the qualifying session on Saturday, before we get back into the full sunlight on race day on Sunday. So is it anything? Maybe not. But at least something to keep an eye on as we roll into the weekend. But honestly, that's really it. It's another pretty low stress forecast from my perspective.
It definitely looks promising, to say the least. Do you expect anything now within 24 to 48 hours of this changing, or is this pretty concrete for the weekend?
No, this is pretty good. I was actually just looking over some of the latest data that's been rolling in just before I hopped on here, and it's pretty consistent with what I put out there in this forecast on Monday. So maybe some tweaks to the temperature, but I think we're pretty close to within a degree or two, and it's just a gradual warming trend. Now, interestingly enough, right, so the race is on Sunday and you're looking at temps, in the upper 80s, 88, but it continues to warm up into next week. So it does get up into the 90s and the mid 90s as we go through Monday into Tuesday. So a little bit of a blessing in disguise there with the timing, a little bit of luck there.
Josh, Michael, anything you want to add here? But again, to me, definitely a picture perfect weekend, to say the least.
Looks like a great weekend. I can't wait to see. I mean, with it not having the fluctuation that I was talking about, looks like we're gonna have a great race.
Yeah, it'd be just what driver catches the cloud in qualifying, honestly, if that holds true.
Definitely, weatherman, good stuff as always. If there does happen to be a tweak in your forecast by chance, where can people find that at?
Yeah, so I'm on X, and I'm also over on Blue Sky now. And then for now, I'm still cross-posting the forecast onto Threads as well. So if you search IndyCar weatherman on any of those three sites, should pop up easy enough.
Again, good stuff as always. Definitely look forward to the forecast this weekend. Great racing, great weather for racing, and we will talk. I think about 2 weeks time. Thank you for coming on, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Have a good night.
All right, good stuff there as always from the weatherman. Definitely a forecast to be optimistic about this weekend. No postponements, no cancellations, just picture perfect weather for the second race of the season. Before the weatherman did come on, though, we were talking about a quick story. Toby Sowery coming on as a replacement driver and development driver there at Ray Hall Letterman Landing and Racing. Curious to get both your thoughts on Sowery and his new position.
I don't know too much about Toby Sowery. I believe you said he drove in some other circuits, but anytime somebody can come over and drive for a prestigious group for like Ray Hall Letterman, Lanigan, they've got to be doing something well. So I'll keep an eye on him and see how he goes.
Yeah, Toby's he'll be interesting to hopefully help develop that team, find some speed, especially on the ovals. I feel like on the road courses, they had Christian Lundgaard, so hopefully Toby Sowery can come in and kind of help, speed things along there for them because Louis Foster, he only got 3 turns in, so it'll be interesting to see how he kind of progresses after that brutal start for him.
Yeah, it'll be definitely interesting to see if Salary is able to advance the racing program, the IndyCar program over there at Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing. That covers everything that I was looking forward and looking to go over this evening. Josh or Michael, anything else that we need to add or discuss here before the checkered flag falls?
I only had one extra thing to add. This has to do with the month of May, and I have to give Doug Bowles credit. Half of the Carb Day, they announced the Carb Day concert a couple weeks ago. It's going to be Brett Michaels and All American Rejects. And for the last couple of years, I've railed the fact that they needed to get somebody that's a little bit newer. We kept getting all these 80s and 90s bands, and even though Brett Michaels is from the 80s and 90s, they've got the All American Rejects in there that are. They were popular when I was in high school, so they're a little bit older, but they're not, going all the way back to 80s and 90s. So I give Doug Bowles props for that, for being able to bring in somewhat of a modern band, in my opinion.
Yeah, last thing I would add is just keep an eye out for those drivers that kind of had a bad start to the season. See if they can change their luck this weekend. Mainly Nolan Siegel, Will Power, and Louis Foster, who were caught up in that lap 1, turn 3 crash at St. Pete.
Yeah, definitely first give Doug Bowles and all of his staff over at IMS credit for bringing in a younger act, and hopefully that brings in a younger crowd. Can't get much younger, I guess, on Carb Day, and definitely a lot of bounce back races this weekend. Will Power, especially with the disappointing performance and him being in a contract year, a lot of talk of maybe Will Power being on the outs there with Team Penske. Definitely something to keep an eye on for sure. This weekend, we will be monitoring everything going on from Thermal Club from afar. Keep track, keep follow, keep a watch on Twitter or X, I guess, depending on what generation that you grew up in, for updates from there. Also, too, keep track of the Push to Pass WordPress and yournews.com. That's where you're going to find articles that we write about this coming race weekend. I know I have a preview coming up. I'll get out before race weekend kicks off. But a huge thank you first to Don Cusack of Cusack Motorsports for joining us. Also, huge thank you to the official Push to Pass weatherman for taking time out of his busy schedule to join us. If you did happen to miss any of those interviews, obviously on YouTube, you can go back, Rumble, you can go back and check the portion out of that show as well. Also, huge thank you to everyone that took time out of their day to listen. Obviously, without you guys, none of this would be possible. And then, as always, huge thank you both to Josh and Michael, as always, for taking time out of their day each and every Tuesday night during the IndyCar season to join me on this podcast. Again, we look forward to what's going to be taking place this weekend in Thermal, California for the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. We will on Sunday, we will put out our race picks as we did that at St. Pete a couple weeks ago, and none of us, I don't think we hit any nails on the head there with racing picks, so definitely we'll be able to see if we can pick that up for round number 2. So for myself and Josh and Michael and everyone else that makes up the Push to Pass podcast, we will be back in 1 week's time to break down and discuss what we've seen at Thermal Club for the Thermal Club IndyCar Grand Prix. So until next week, so long, everybody.
Can't keep it on the racing line.
And they are wheel-to-wheel, a drag race between Alexander Rossi and Joseph Newgarden.
Through turn number 8 now, pops to the inside. Alexander Rossi gets past Joseph Newgarden.
Listen to the NTT IndyCar Series at the Thermal Club in Southern California. Live this Sunday.